Prayer is one of the key foundations of a relationship with Jesus, but lots of times it can be hard and confusing. Like, what do we even pray about? Even though I don't have a magic perfect answer, I have developed 4 tips in my imperfect human nature that I think should help you and help me with our prayer lives. If you want a magic perfect prayer guide, click off this video. But if you're ready to hear what I, as an imperfect human, think, keep on watching to the end, because the last tip is the most powerful. Let's start off by looking at the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6, starting in verse 9. Pray then like this: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. This is often used incorrectly when people say it over and over and over again every single time they pray, but this becomes extremely destructive because instead of a conversation with God, it's more of a chant. But we can take the basics that are found in the Lord's Prayer and use it as an outline for our own prayer, putting those basics in our own words. Something I actually heard from Stuart Connectly, I think he was on George Janko's podcast, and I heard about the ACTS method. It's based on the Lord's Prayer, and it takes the key fundamentals of it and allows you to put it in your own words. So the first letter of ACTS is A, which stands for adoration. Like when it says, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. C stands for confession. Like when it says, Forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. T stands for thanksgiving. Even though it's not specifically stated in the Lord's Prayer, there are a lot of other verses like Psalm 100 verse 4 and Philippians 4 verse 6 that talk about thanksgiving. And finally, S stands for supplication, aka asking God to fulfill our needs. For example, give us this day our daily bread, and also lead us not into temptation but deliver us from evil. Using this ACTS method, we are able to have an outline of our prayer, knowing the basics, hitting the high points of prayer, while also putting it in our own words, having more of a conversation and less of a chant. Something else we need to pray about that's not covered in the ACTS method, but it is also mentioned in the Lord's Prayer, is praying to align our will with God's will. Like when it says, Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This allows us to align our will to God's will, not asking God to align his will with ours. How can we follow Jesus if our hearts are torn between our own fleshly desires and God's true will? We need to pray that our desires are the same as God's, so that we wouldn't have to do God's will reluctantly, but out of a true desire. On top of that, asking to align your will with God's will is asking that God would make your path foolproof, that whatever path God has for you would be your only option, that you wouldn't have any other options. This makes it extremely hard to fall off our path. We aren't praying for an easy path, but we are praying that the only path would be the right path that God has for us. The last 3 things I've talked about: first off, the ACTS method; second, asking God to align our will with his; and praying that God would make our path foolproof, are very powerful. But this last one, which I'm about to talk about, is the most powerful. We can pray about our prayer. We can pray for help, that God would help us pray in a more God-honoring way, in a way that follows exactly how he wants us to pray. But legit, we can pray about prayer. I think I talked about a verse before, Philippians 4 verse 6, that can help us here. Let's read it together. Okay, I found it. Philippians 4 verse 6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving let your requests be made known to God. It says it right there. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer. We shouldn't even be worried about how we pray, because that's being anxious about something. We can pray about that. Praying about prayer seems like a paradox, but it's actually super helpful if you put it into action. I hope that this video helped at least one of you watching to upgrade your prayer life by even 1%. Even if it was that little, it's still win in my eyes and in God's eyes. As always, I pray that any truth that came out of this video, that's God's truth, would be an impact onto everyone watching, that it would be put into action for good. But anything that is imperfect, that is untrue, that's from my own human nature would be tossed out and forgotten by anyone watching this video. If you have any tips, questions, or prayer requests, leave them in the comments below. And with that, peace out and God bless.